Oh boy, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Breaking news in the NHL tonight. It's always that late night news as Jonathan Huberdeau has signed an 8-year extension with the Calgary Flames, paying him $10.5 million per season. This obviously has huge implications on the trade, the Matthew Tkachuk trade itself, as the condition of who won the deal came down to who is going to sign extensions, if anybody, between Huberdeau and Weegar. So now with Huberdeau signing 8 by 10.5, the Flames recently got Mangiapane and Shillington signed on, so they knew their money situation a bit better. This is big money for Huberdeau. This is probably the type of money that he would have been expecting in Florida. Now the question is, could Florida have afforded Huberdeau? Could they have afforded to keep him at that price tag? Was it necessary to trade him? And now, how much more of a slam dunk is this trade for Calgary, who now gets, even at worst case scenario, a late first round pick, a middle six prospect, Huberdeau signed for 8 years and 1 season of Mackenzie Weegar at the absolute worst. So, as we're just getting this news coming in, I'm opening up all the numbers on Jonathan Huberdeau, who signs for $10.5 million for the next 8 years. Huge extension for him. I want to see the Calgary Flames cap situation. Obviously, we're going to pull that up, but breaking news tonight in the NHL, as that will make him one of the highest paid players in the league. Absolutely. The Flames do have some money to play with next season, so let's get into that right now when we get into this. So getting to some of the comments already here. Jack comments, so the Flames top six now is going forward as well, not just this season. Huberdeau, Backlund, Mangiapane, Lindholm, Toffoli, Coleman. Pretty much, I would think that it would probably be Huberdeau, Backlund, Lindholm, with the second line being Mangiapane, Coleman, Toffoli, something like that. And yes, if Monahan comes back, that's even better. But that's yet to be seen, obviously. So if we go into the numbers here with the Calgary Flames, breaking out the good old calculator before updates here on Cap Friendly. So the Calgary Flames currently have 2.761667 in salary cap space. Next season, they'll have an extra 5.9, let's say in theory, with Huberdeau gone, extra 5.25 with Lucic gone, extra 0.8 with Trevor Lewis gone, extra 3.25 with Weegar gone, or just needing contracts, 1.55 Valimaki and 0.75 Vladar. So heading into next season, the Flames would have had 20.26 million to play with, minus their 10.5 million that they're not giving to Jonathan Huberdeau. They still have 9.76 million in 2023-24 to pretty much just have to get some sort of bottom six replacement for Milan Lucic, and a backup goalie. If they want to sign Mackenzie Weegar, say for 7.5 million, they can do that with 2.26. It'll be a bit tight, but they could absolutely do that. So the Flames are not in a bad spot right now. They are very happy to have him signed on. Yes, it's expensive, but I think it's very, very I guess comforting to see that they've gotten a long-term piece. They lost Gaudreau for nothing. They lose Matthew Tkachuk for what they thought wouldn't have been much. They didn't seem to have much leverage in the situation, but they pull out a couple players who are UFAs, expiring UFAs next at the end of 22-23, and they end up getting Huberdeau extended long term. So they are very, very happy this evening, Calgary Flames fans. Next step is going to be Mackenzie Weegar. And you know what? With Huberdeau signed on long term, I wouldn't be surprised if the next domino to fall is Mackenzie Weegar now that Huberdeau has signed on. So what I want to pull up now are the Florida Panthers numbers. As just give me a moment, as I went live very quickly. And YouTube requires you to do a couple things when you go live. So I got to just take those things care of on the side. But yeah, I think a great thing that that comes from this deal as well. Gassy isn't going to Montreal. So many people, I was so sick of that. Yeah, I'm a Canadiens fan. Yeah, I'm from Montreal. Would I have loved Jonathan Huberdeau coming to Montreal? Absolutely. Who's going to say no to one of the best playmakers of the last decade and in the entire league? please. But the amount of Canadians fans that were saying Huberdeau is coming to Montreal, he's going to sign UFA, they're going to trade for his rights, this and that. Wow, I can't wait for next season. Trade them Drouin. I even saw mock trades. Trade Drouin and I've retained and a second round pick for Huberdeau and Weegar. Please. The delusion was unbearable a little bit. So he is definitely not going to be coming to the Canadians. Maybe for the end of his career or something, that would be great. But it's not happening right now or anytime soon. And that's okay. It wasn't meant to be. But the people who said that he was going to, it was some delusion, that's for sure. What I want to pull up right now are the metrics on Jonathan Huberdeau. That'll just take me a minute here. Here we go. And then after that, we'll check out Florida's cap situation. Then we'll call it a night. Just wanted to quickly break that news for all of you out here, as that's what we do here on the channel, breaking news and analysis. So Jonathan Huberdeau, signed to an 8 by 10.5 extension by Calgary, is a dynamic winger with elite passing ability, whose up-tempo style has led to consistently excellent production and subpar defensive results. Not going to lie. An underrated scorer as well. So he's not there for the defense. He's not a two-way player. That's not what he's there for. But his offense and his primary assists per 60 as well, next to none. Great finishing, solid power play and penalty kill, actually, even though it's not really penalty kill isn't much of his game. He plays against high levels of competition, has good teammates, but even strength defense, you can swallow that when you're dealing with a player who had more assists than games played last season. He had 85 assists in 82 games, 115 points, I believe. With Calgary now, what they got to do is build around him. He is the cornerstone. He is potentially the future captain. You got to get scoring in there. Lindholm is great. Tyler Toffoli, that's good. Mangiapane, yeah. The thing is now in Calgary, a lot of these players like Mangiapane and Toffoli, maybe not Toffoli so much, maybe like a Blake Coleman, these guys are going to become the Carter Verhaeghes, the Sam Bennetts, the Anthony Duclairs of Florida, who benefited from the playmaking ability of Jonathan Huberdeau. Not that they're not good players, but they're absolutely going to benefit from the support, the primary assist support that they're going to be receiving. So what I want to pull up here are the the Panthers salary cap numbers, because the question that I'm sure was in Bill Zito's mind, the general manager of the Florida Panthers, was would we have enough money if Huberdeau would be costing that 10.5 million type of that deal, right? Let me just pull up Florida. Cap Friendly is a bit slow right now because I'm sure many people are on trying to figure out how the cap situation looks. Let's see. Perfect. Break out the calculator. So they're over the salary cap right now, absolutely. But we want to look towards next season. So next season, they're already over. So I'm going to give it negative 3.375834 negative. Heading into 2023-24, they have an extra 5.3 million from Patrick Hornquist, 1.2 from Colin White, 0.75 from Rudolph Balcers, 2.5 from Radko Gudas, 0.8 from Lucas Carlson, 750 from Mark Stahl, and 925 for Spencer Knight. Also, of course, remove the 9.5 million from Matthew Tkachuk because he wouldn't have been coming to the team had that deal not happened. So heading into 2023-24, if the trade hadn't happened, Florida would have 18.349 million to play with. Give Huberdeau 10.5, you're down to 7.8. At that point, you can say we're either re-signing Mackenzie Weegar or we got to support the rest of the team. You let Weegar walk. You give $2 million to Spencer Knight in a bridge contract. You pay a Patrick Hornquist replacement, bottom six guys, and Colin White, let's say 1.8 each. Then you need a replacement for Radko Gudas. You still have 2.25 million left over. So I'm not saying it wouldn't be tight. I'm not laughing at Florida saying they could have done it. It would have been tight giving Huberdeau 10.5 million. But it's not like they got a defenseman back from Calgary either. They lost a defenseman in this deal. They lose Weegar whether or not Huberdeau leaves. So I don't feel like they had to be so desperate to make that trade. But nonetheless, it has been made. Yeah, definitely Lucic gets moved. Monahan gets moved. Yeah, we're talking about that. It has definitely worked out for the Flames, at least for the biggest piece. If Weegar signs on, all the better. But right now, it's he's 29 years of age, 8 years. He brings him to the age of 37. Could be a more difficult deal at the end of it. It's possible, but there's no reason to think that really that he's going to regress just yet. He's coming off of a career high in assists with 85. He had the highest point production of his career at 115 as well, by far. He never even gotten the hundreds before. His 82 game average in his career is 75 points. And that's even because, of course, that's including the lower seasons. But his 82 game average over the last 4 years, I believe, is I think it's 98 points. That's his 82 game average over the last 4 seasons. So he's going to bring more of that to Calgary, a team that's going to be gaining as I mentioned earlier, the guys like Blake Coleman, Tyler Toffoli, Andre Mangiapane. These guys are going to be the Sam Bennetts, the Anthony Duclairs, the Carter Verhaeghes, the Mason Marchmonts of the world. These are going to be the new people in Calgary who are going to benefit from Jonathan Huberdeau's playmaking because he makes the team around him that much better. So this deal is becoming more and more of a win for Calgary, I believe, when we look through these numbers. Going back to the Calgary Flames cap-friendly page, if you weren't here earlier, so I'm curious to see if cap-friendly updated it with that extension in place. But cap-friendly is going very slow right now, so I'm sure there's many people who are trying to get on here. But I'm curious to hear your thoughts as well in the comments. What do you think about this deal for Jonathan Huberdeau? Does this really solidify the win for the Flames, or does it still hinge on Mackenzie Weegar coming back or not? The deal is there. Perfect. So let's switch to this screen. So the deal is in place for Jonathan Huberdeau, $10.5 million for a long, long time. So, yeah, that's a big deal. It is a big deal. He will be the highest paid player by far. No one else on the team is even making more than 5.8. No other skater. Markstrom at $6 million. See, Markstrom's on a good contract. Mangiapane, that could be a great deal. 3 by 5.8 if he starts scoring crazy with Huberdeau on his line. One of the best contracts as well. Elias Lindholm at 4.85. But now here's the question in Calgary. The window may be an interesting thing to note, because there's no way that Lindholm's signing for 4.85. There's no way Toffoli's staying for 4.25. So 2022-23, followed by 2023-24, may be the window for Calgary right now. Because then you start getting further on. Rasmus Anderson is on a good deal, but Noah Hannafin's going to need a payday. Tanev wants more. Weegar has to be re-signed. Markstrom's going to want more. Backlund, maybe he won't want more, but Mangiapane will be around that same number. Lindholm wants more. Toffoli wants more. Dubé wants more. That's the window right now. The next 2 years for Calgary, coming off of a great year, this is pretty much it. And of course, Brennan, the resident Flames fan, is very happy with this deal. Big win in a trade, big win in a contract, I believe, as well. This is the price. This is the price in 2022 in the NHL. This is what a player like Jonathan Huberdeau costs. And especially if that production is going to continue, no one's going to bat an eye at $10.5 million. That's for sure. Huberdeau basically got Gaudreau money. Yeah, that's true. That's true. He basically got the same thing. Surprised they gave him 8 years. I guess that just comes down. I think that's pretty much what they had to give him. I don't think he was going to resign for anything less. He wants guaranteed money. Yeah, Gaudreau did get 9.75. That's true. But I think they were willing to offer him more. I think that's what the general was referring to. So again, Florida, they could have matched it. They would have lost Mackenzie Weegar most likely, but they could have kept Huberdeau. So it really comes down to, I think, the direction of the franchise itself. It's not going to be necessarily just the skill of the player. I think it's the player type. Brandon saying this is such a win for Trelving, showing everyone that they were 100% going to give Johnny 10.5 by 8. That's true. That's a good point there. That dinner in Montreal must have been amazing. Huberdeau and Trelving meeting in Montreal. I wonder where they went out to eat. I'd be curious to see where they went out to eat. I'm sure that's what sealed it. Absolutely. So that just about wraps it up. Not much more to say aside from that. I like this deal a lot for the Flames. I wanted to break it because it builds off of the last breaking news video that I had made. One more time, looking at the analytics here from Jonathan Huberdeau, 87th percentile projected wins above replacement. He is in a class of his own when it comes to primary assists per 60. He draws penalties. He even scores. His scoring ability is underrated. He had how many goals this past season? 30. He's coming off of a 30-goal season, and he scored 30 goals twice. And he's been on pace for 30 goals, more than that as well. So maybe that's a part of his game that's coming along nicely. I'll be very interested to see what happens, I guess, with Calgary's, I don't want to say lesser production, but Michael Backlund and Elias Lindholm are great, but they're not quite Alex Barkov and at his best. Even Claude Giroux last season, who had a big part in being the playmaker for even Huberdeau, who reached 30 goals, right? So Calgary, who you may have expected a rebuild, but no rebuild here. It's actually the opposite, as the Flames are now in a 2-year window, I would say. And of course, after that 2 years, you can get a lot of the guys back, but they're going to need pay raises, and you're not going to have the same group together. So it's a 2-year window here in Calgary. Jonathan Huberdeau is officially signed on. Now the question is, will Mackenzie Weegar follow suit and be the next in line to sign an extension? That would really make it a huge win for the Flames, who would also throw in a prospect and a first-round pick on top of it. But it's looking great for Calgary, even if at the absolute worst, it's the prospect, Huberdeau, and only 1 year of Weegar. I still see it as a great win for the Flames. Tkachuk will do great with the Panthers. That's not why the Flames win this deal. The Flames win this deal because they got a ton of value, and they turned one maybe into a guarantee. Now their job, Brad Trelving's job, is to try and turn that other maybe into another guarantee. They have the money to do it. So I'm very curious to see if they will pull the trigger on that. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining me here this evening for some breaking news and instant reaction and analysis to Jonathan Huberdeau signing an 8-year extension at $10.5 million AAV with the Flames. A summer to remember for Flames fans. Absolutely. Coming off of a great year and a disappointing playoff exit, their window has now been extended. No poverty, no rebuild. It's now 2 years of win now mode, especially next season if Weegar's not coming back. It is going to be win now in Calgary. So thank you everyone for joining me here tonight. If it is your first time hopping on to the channel, NHL 22 franchise mode, career simulations, breaking news and analysis in the real world of hockey. If you haven't checked out the channel yet, we'd love to have you. So do consider subscribing. And of course, leave a like if you were here live. If you know, so we can see how many of us were here. And I think we'll close it out there. So thank you everyone for taking the time tonight. I will be back live anytime breaking news drops, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the offseason continues to give us, as Nazem Kadri hasn't signed. I'll be curious to see if Weegar signs the extension. Much appreciated. Thank you, Wes. Thank you, General. See you later, Jack. Everyone have a great night. We'll talk soon, and thank you for being here.